steady, meaning that there's a difference in absorption. Anything eaten by mouth goes into the stomach, makes its way into the small intestine, and then is absorbed into the liver where it's processed. It's metabolized and broken down. So, when something is eaten, it doesn't go to the brain first. The interesting thing about delta-9 tetrahydrocannabinol is that in the liver, it's broken down to 11-hydroxy-tetrahydrocannabinol. One goal of liver metabolism is to make chemicals more hydrophilic. Hydro meaning water and philic meaning a fluid. Making a chemical have more water affinity means that you're making it more water soluble, so it can dissolve in water and concentrate in the urine so it can be eliminated from the body. Hence why the liver is called the
I might get deleted because of this. You see, I've chosen to take on the most powerful enemy of all. And here's the story. Over the course of the last few months, I have committed myself to finding the truth. The truth about the education system. You see, we all go through it, but none of us actually know the truth behind it. Now, you might think,
tox organ. Water is made of hydrogen and oxygen, so when chemicals contain more hydrogens and oxygens, they should technically have more affinity for water. And when we look at the name 11-hydroxy-tetrahydrocannabinol, it's a metabolite of delta-9 THC gummy edibles makes sense. However, nature isn't straightforward because 11-hydroxy-THC happens to be even more psychoactive than delta-9 THC, meaning as NP mistakenly ate fancy extension gummy edibles, the liver turned the megadose of THC into a megadose of an even more active version of THC. The state of Colorado did research and estimated that 11-hydroxy-THC from an edible could be almost 6 times more potent than delta-9 THC that goes directly to the brain during inhalation. It doesn't stop here. Inhaling smoke is known to exert a full psychoactive effect within minutes. But when an edible is consumed from the mouth, the process of passing through the blood into the liver, then through the bloodstream to the brain can take an hour or more. And during that time, especially if the person has no idea that there's cannabinoids contained within, one can consume those 10 times or more compared to inhalation, related onset with the effect getting more and more intense as more gummies are eaten and absorbed into the blood, bringing us back to NP. In the emergency room, the results of a urine toxicology screen returns, and it tells the medical team that present in NP's urine are cannabinoids. This should make sense. The liver is there to make the kidneys have eliminated some cannabinoids into the urine, but for NP, she's still a ton. We know that the liver's attempt to metabolize the cannabinoids created an even more potent psychoactive compound in the first pass. But why is she still like this? This brings us back to hydrophilicity. If a chemical mixes well with water, it won't mix well with oil and vice versa. So, if there exists an affinity for water, then the opposite case of affinity for oil exists, something called lipophilicity. Lipo from Greek referring to fats and oils. NP's dad, Tony, had a friend who made the gummy edibles that he ate. These candies were infused with an oil that was the extract of all the cannabinoids from the raw edible period, and was infused into the gummies to make the gummies. Delta-9 THC is lipophilic. 11-hydroxy-THC is still lipophilic, though slightly less than delta-9. The nerves in all the body are covered by a myelin sheath, which helps conduct signals faster. These are made of fats. The brain and the cells within are also made of majority fats. All of this bringing us to the idea of distribution. As delta-9 and 11-hydroxy-THC reaches the brain, it deposits in it. Because of the lipophilicity, it preferentially stays in fat tissue, like the brain, as opposed to staying in the bloodstream. An amount of 11-hydroxy-THC will make it back to the liver again to be broken down yet another time to 11-9-oxy-THC, which isn't psychoactive, but still lipophilic enough to be contained in the organs and slowly leach out into the bloodstream and make its way into the urine in detectable amounts for more than a week. So, we know delta-9 THC edibles become an even more potent version of THC in the liver. We know it preferentially distributes into fat tissue, notably the brain. But why does it produce the psychoactive effect? Well, delta-9 and 11-hydroxy-THC both happen to fit into structures in the brain where the nerves connect. Naturally, our bodies produce endogenous cannabinoids, endo meaning within, and genus referring to production. Our body doesn't make THC, but it makes compounds that appear to be similar in function. Endogenous cannabinoids appear to be used to regulate other neurotransmitters that actively send signals throughout the nerves. When THC is present, it looks like the concentrations of neurotransmitters change. This is what produces the effect, because such a huge dose of it is floating around and it explains what's happening to her brain. This disruption in normal neurotransmitter flows in the brain will be responsible for cannabis hyperemesis syndrome, where herb consumers will empty their stomach multiple times because emesis can be mediated by some neurotransmitters. There's a lot more to cannabinoid neuropharmacology than what we know about today. Some strains of plant will change neurotransmitter concentrations in different ways. The sources of the cannabinoids in edibles may be different, so categorizing for sure whether it's a stimulant or a depressant is inaccurate. An interesting point is that cannabinoid receptors don't appear to be in abundance on brains. This is important because this is where the respiratory centers are that control our breathing. Meaning for adolescents and adults who may accidentally ingest a massive dose of edibles, it typically won't lead to respiratory arrest. This appears to be a different situation for toddlers, who we now have some more data on in the context of cannabis poisoning. Here's something that do mistakenly take massive ingestion of THC may need respiratory support, usually different than in the adolescent brain. Some pleasant for young children who suspect accidental cannabis edible ingestion. Don't seek help from your local poison center or meeting. The United States Food and Drug Administration issued a notice that incidents of accidental pediatric edible ingestion is increasing, with more calls being logged to poison control centers across the United States. Some of the reason could be the fact that the packaging of these edibles is designed to look like candy that you find in stores. If they're cookies or brownies, the packaging doesn't need to resemble anything because of the clear plastic containers that we often find these goods in. There's also a Delta-8 THC, of which products are becoming more common. It's generally accepted that its effects are roughly the same as Delta-9 THC, if it's a little less potent, maybe causing a little brain feel. The metabolic pathway for it is similar, creating hydroxy Delta-8 THC, but here's one, then Delta-8 THC. A news story in late 2022 noted a death caused by Delta-8 THC toxicity in Northern Virginia, confirmed by the chief medical examiner, with the case listed in the FDA notice predating the news story by the Facebook. Both of these deaths could possibly be associated with the patient's pursuing early respiratory support during the toxicity, which is one way that a child needs. But we would need more information about those particular cases. A good way to prevent this from happening, should you be in the presence of children, is to place edibles in a visible location, invisible and not reachable by children. I'm not singling out cannabis versus other potentially dangerous things in the house. There can be many. As it is right now, this stuff happens to look like candy, cookies, brownies, and other fun treats we do for those kids. And if you're a parent, you can weigh the risk of what you want to have in the house. It's not realistic not having edibles in the house. Placing them in a way where they can't see it and can't get to it, like in a high cabinet, closed door, can help. If you leave the edibles in a hot car or in a bathroom where shower steam can get warm, those can compromise the stability of the compounds contained within. So those aren't recommended places. There's also medication lockboxes that can help you get access to get them. Typically, if there's even a little barrier to entry, it usually doesn't get consumed because the person can't be followed. Friend came to the hospital, had a conversation with her parents when the urine toxicology screen returned for cannabinoids. Despite being an accident, Child Protective Services did have to be notified by the medical team because of federal law. But as it turned out, this was an accident. After some observation at the hospital, care from the medical team, and awareness for the parents, MP was able to make full recovery. Thanks so much for watching. Take care of yourself and be well. This throat numbing spray is medicine. There's a label on the bottle required by law telling you how to take it. And there's a warning on that label saying it can happen if you take too much, like this. That's a lot of sprays. Just be careful. A man swallowed one bottle of throat numbing spray while eating spicy food. This is what happened to his brain. RJ, this 21-year-old man, presenting to the emergency room with shortness of breath, nausea, and cyanosis. especially his lips were a pale blue color. A few hours earlier, RJ was eating spicy food with his friends. One of his roommates had recently started working at a hot and sauce store, wanting to hold a little contest amongst friends to see who could handle the spiciest spice. RJ was someone who just flew. He was that guy in the house who always flirted with everyone and showed them. He looked online for ways to handle the sweet spice and came across this throat-numbing spray, which he used to treat his throat when he came to schools. He went to the store, found a bottle, tried one spray in his mouth to understand what was working. It was time to shine his roommates again. Later that week, on the day of the spice, the friends were ready to have some delicious chicken wings. One of the roommates dropped out quick because they didn't like spicy foods. They just wanted to taste flavor and enjoy the food. But everyone else knew that they wanted to show each other. RJ hid the throat-numbing spray underneath his napkin, occasionally sneaking in a spray here and there while everyone else was eating. At first, he would make it look like he was wiping his mouth. Really, he was pumping the spray. The sauces that they moved on to got spicier. Some of the friends were having trouble handling it, but RJ wasn't going to back down. He wasn't going to admit that this was spicier than he planned. He felt like the sprays were starting to not do anything. Maybe looking kind of obvious. He started to suspect that the others were catching on to him as he unscrewed the bottle of throat-numbing spray so he could take a couple of swigs. But accidentally, he spilled the bottle into his mouth, and some of it started dripping down his chin. In an effort to not make it obvious to his friends that he was adding a little help on the side to handle the spicy spice, RJ felt his tongue was dripping into his mouth. He could bite down on it and feel nothing. But then he felt like his head was pounding. He could feel his heart beating in his neck as the air coming out of his nose felt warm and warm. One of the friends suspected something was wrong, but just wondering what. He called out RJ and said, "Check out Papa Smurf over here." As everyone noticed that RJ was moving with his face, the throat-numbing spray that he was hiding was blue and some of it was dripping off of his chin. And thinking that everyone knew what he was doing, RJ got up and ran to the bathroom. Not out his field mission. In the bathroom, RJ was gasping for air. The sentence appeared to make it cease. One of the friends who found the empty bottle of throat-numbing spray on RJ's seat realized what he had done. First, they found it hilarious, but when they looked closer at the bottle, they saw a warning to take immediate medical attention. The colored skin and gloves during the use of this product. RJ wouldn't come out of the bathroom. They went in and saw his complexion in an even paler blue color. He was laying down on the floor as they were trying to do the emergency room. That his complexion is now, but he still has some of it onto his skin. It's possible that some of the food coloring dyed his lips blue, and that nothing at all is wrong with RJ, meaning that maybe that oxygen isn't going to do anything. But as the time passes, it becomes clear that oxygen isn't going to do anything. There's definitely something. The oxygen doesn't change the color of the complexion, even worse, it started to become unresponsive, meaning that something was happening to his brain. Presented to the emergency room, they had put a pulse oximeter on his finger and checked oxygen saturation in the blood. That's the measure of how much his hemoglobin, the protein in his red blood cells that's supposed to carry oxygen, is actually carrying oxygen. The pulse oximeter shines a light on one end and measures how much remaining light is received on the opposite end to determine that percentage of oxygen absorbed by his red blood cells. If they've been giving him oxygen, but he's still blue, and the pulse oximeter is saying that his hemoglobin isn't carrying a lot of oxygen, it's clear now that his oxygen that RJ is receiving is going into his lungs and put into the blood that's coming from his heart. This oxygenated blood then flows back to the heart where it's pumped out to the rest of the body. The arteries, which is where the medical team flows blood. But if all of this is happening, why is the pulse ox tender saying that RJ's oxygen saturation is low? More importantly, why is this so important? And here's the thing. Red blood cells are supposed to carry oxygen. And this through a protein called hemoglobin, which contains iron, and that's what carries the oxygen. The arterial pulse RJ shows that he has a pressure of oxygen. But the pulse oximeter is showing that there isn't much oxygen attached to his blood cells. Then it means that oxygen is in the blood, but for some reason, his red blood cells can't hold on to that oxygen. And if iron in hemoglobin is supposed to carry that oxygen in normal function, then this is where RJ's problem is. This meant hemoglobinemia, meant from meta, in this case referring to between, or a kind of altered state while retaining some structure and characteristic of the original, but being very different in a very important aspect of function. Hemoglobin being the protein that holds onto oxygen and hemia being the presence of blood. Altered hemoglobin presence of blood, but why does this happen? The active ingredient in the spray that RJ uses benzene. The cane suffix in the name denotes a local X, meaning that it's a medicine that's supposed to numb the area to where it's applied. The nerves rely on sending electrical signals to the brain with the sensation of pain, but benzocaine generally dampens that electrical signal so that the pain sensation is sent. This happens at regular doses, which for this throat-numbing spray is one pump that's spit out after leaving it in the mouth for a minute. That's not close to the amount that RJ took put inside his body. And that dose is like the one that the structure of benzocaine explains everything happening in RJ. Familiar with the mentality. Nerves are used for normal function. They're solid that they're electrically charged. The problem with iron is that it can have different electrical charges. This is why it's special, but why does it do that? Electrical charges in elements are because of the changes in how many electrons are in the atom. If there's more electrons than normal, then that ion is negative. If there's less electrons than normal, then that ion is positive. Normal is dictated by the number of protons in the atom which are positively charged. So when the number of electrons equals the number of protons, the atom isn't charged at all. Nature has a tendency towards stability, in this case referring to less energy. Electrons on atoms are laid out in energy levels. The larger the element, the more energy it has, and that means it